For centuries, people believed every race on Earth carried its own deep biological identity. Different skin, different faces, different continents, different origins. The old idea was simple. If humans look different on the outside, then the deepest differences must be hidden somewhere inside the body. And when DNA sequencing arrived, many expected the genome to finally prove it. Scientists compared genetic data from populations across the planet, looking for the borders people had argued about for centuries, but the borders were not there. The genome did not divide humanity into the clean racial categories people expected. It showed overlap where people expected separation. It showed closeness where people expected distance. And the deepest human diversity was not found between the groups most people call races. It was hiding somewhere else. What DNA revealed about every race on Earth did not just shock scientists, it changed the story humans had been telling about themselves. DNA changed the question because it gave scientists something older than language, politics, or national identity. It does not care what people call themselves. It does not know whether someone is labeled black, white, Asian, indigenous, European, or anything else. DNA records movement. When populations separate, small mutations begin to build up in different places. When groups migrate, they carry only part of the genetic diversity from the place they came from. When populations meet again, the genome keeps traces of that contact. Over thousands of years, these traces become a biological archive. Not a simple one, not a perfect one, but a powerful one. For the first time, scientists could test a question that older race science had mostly assumed. Do the categories humans invented actually match the patterns inside human DNA? The first answer came as a number, and it was smaller than almost anyone expected. Put two people side by side, one from Northern Europe, one from East Asia, one from West Africa, one from an island in the Pacific. Their faces may tell very different stories. Different skin, different hair, different features, different languages, cultures, and family histories. But at the level of DNA, any two humans are about 99.9% genetically identical. That number does not mean human differences are imaginary. They are real. The remaining variation can matter for ancestry, health, adaptation, and population history. But it does mean something important. The differences humans turned into racial categories are only a tiny part of the genome. And even that tiny part does not sort people into the clean boxes race was supposed to describe. Human genetic variation does not behave like a filing cabinet. It behaves more like a landscape. Patterns shift gradually. Edges blur. Neighboring populations overlap. A person can look like they belong to one simple category while their genome carries a much older and more complicated history. That was the first crack. The second one was much bigger, because when scientists looked for the greatest genetic diversity on Earth, they did not find it between continents, they found it within one. If the old racial story were right, the deepest genetic splits should appear between the groups people usually compare. Africa and Europe and Asia and the Americas. That would make the racial map feel obvious. But DNA showed a different pattern. The greatest human genetic diversity exists within Africa itself, not between so-called races. Within Africa, two African populations from different regions can be more genetically different from each other than either one is from some populations outside Africa. That sounds strange only because many people learn human history from the wrong starting point. Modern humans began in Africa. For most of our species' existence, our ancestors lived there. Groups separated, adapted to different environments, mixed again, split again, and carried on across enormous stretches of time. Africa had hundreds of thousands of years to build genetic diversity before any small group moved out and populated the rest of the world. Think of Africa as the original library of human genetic variation. When some humans left, they did not take the whole library. They took a shelf. That shelf was copied, rearranged, and carried across Europe, Asia, Oceania, and eventually the Americas. But it was still only a sample of the original collection. That is the founder effect. A small migrating group can only carry part of the diversity from the population it came from. So, as humans moved farther from Africa, populations often carried less of the original variation. This flipped the old racial imagination upside down. The rest of the world was not separate from African diversity. It was built from a branch of it. But then comes the question everyone thinks about. If humans are so genetically close, why do people look so different? Why does the surface feel so powerful? Because the surface is loud. Skin color is visible. Hair texture is visible. Facial structure is visible. But visible does not mean deep. Many traits people use to define race were shaped by local adaptation. Skin color is the clearest example. In regions with intense ultraviolet radiation, darker skin helped protect the body from sun damage and helped preserve important nutrients. In places with weaker sunlight, lighter skin helped the body produce enough vitamin D. These changes mattered. They helped people survive. But they did not create separate kinds of humans. They created local solutions. The same pattern appears again and again. Some populations became able to digest milk into adulthood because their ancestors depended on herding and dairy. Some mountain populations adapted to thin air. Tibetans and Andean peoples both learned genetically how to survive at extreme altitude, but they did it through different biological routes. That is the part race categories miss. The environment does not reward labels, it rewards survival. And survival can make unrelated populations look similar, while closely related populations can look different. The surface can tell a story, but it often tells the shortest version. DNA tells the longer one. Imagine a child seeing a world map for the first time. The continents are different colors, the borders are sharp, the countries look fixed. It feels like the world is made of separate containers. People here, people there, different places, different groups. But now imagine the same map redrawn by DNA. The borders start to fade. Lines become routes. Routes become migrations. Migrations become meetings. The map stops looking like a set of boxes. It starts looking like motion. That is what the genome revealed. Human difference is real, but it was never still. It was moving the whole time. Once scientists understood that, another old belief became harder to defend: pure ancestry. Many people imagine their lineage as a straight road into the past. One people, one homeland, one ancient origin. But ancient DNA keeps complicating that story. Modern Europeans are not descended from one original European population. Their ancestry includes ancient hunter-gatherers, farmers who moved from Anatolia, and steppe pastoralists who arrived later from Eurasia. East Asian histories are also layered, shaped by northern and southern migrations, regional expansions, and long periods of contact. Pacific Islanders carry the legacy of seafarers who crossed huge distances and mixed with older island populations. Indigenous peoples of the Americas carry ancestry connected to ancient Siberian migrations, but their history is more complex than one simple movement across a land bridge. Everywhere scientists looked, the same pattern appeared. People moved, they met, they mixed. The clean bloodline was the myth. The mixture was the evidence. Your ancestry is not a single road. It is a crowded intersection, and the farther back you go, the more crowded it becomes. But there was one place where the old idea seemed to return: medicine. Doctors had long noticed that certain genetic conditions appeared more often in some populations. Sickle cell trait was more common in regions historically affected by malaria. Tay-Sachs disease appeared at higher rates in some Ashkenazi Jewish communities. Cystic fibrosis appeared more often in some populations with European ancestry. At first, this looked like the evidence race science had been waiting for. Maybe race was not perfect, but maybe it still pointed to something biological. Then scientists looked closer, and the explanation changed. These were not race genes. They were history genes, geography genes, survival genes. Sickle cell trait did not become common because of skin color. It became common because of malaria. In places where malaria killed generation after generation, carrying one copy of the sickle cell gene could help protect against severe infection. That advantage followed the disease, not the racial label. A person with West African ancestry and a person with Mediterranean ancestry could both carry malaria-related adaptations if their ancestors lived in regions where malaria was common. Meanwhile, two people placed in the same racial category could have very different medical risks if their ancestors lived under different pressures. That is why race is such a blunt tool in medicine. It can sometimes hint at population history, but it can also mislead. The genome does not diagnose through labels. It follows evidence. The most important result was not only what scientists found, it was what they failed to find. They did not find genetic borders matching racial borders. They did not find separate biological types of human beings. They did not find a ladder of more evolved and less evolved populations. They found one species with a recent shared origin and a long history of movement. Human diversity is real, but it is not arranged the way the old racial map claimed. It is not purity. It is not hierarchy. It is not destiny written on the skin. It is adaptation layered on migration, layered on time. Your face may carry clues about where some of your ancestors lived, but your DNA carries a longer story. A story of people crossing rivers, surviving droughts, following animals, escaping danger, building families, losing languages, creating new ones, and leaving traces in the bodies of their descendants. The old world looked at the surface and called it truth. DNA looked deeper and found history, not separate races, not fixed biological borders. One restless species, changing as it moved, mixing as it survived, carrying the evidence inside every cell. The mystery was never whether humans are different. We are. The discovery was that our differences do not divide us into separate kinds of people. They reveal how much of the same story we share.